The Titans of Europa are one of the cornerstones of its military doctrine, emphasizing its reliance on pragmatic solutions and sheer firepower, a stark contrast to the biological horrors of Eruska and the bleeding-edge technology of Eurasia. In this Forever Winter video, we'll cover the Europan Titans in detail, going over their gameplay functionality and locations within the game, before moving on to their armor and weapons, and lastly covering theories about their use in Europa's armed forces. Let us now begin with their gameplay, starting with the locations in which they can be found. The Titans are scattered about the battlefields of the city of Los Angeles, mostly as carcasses, disabled and destroyed war machines, now a refuge from the harsh environments of the post-apocalypse, though now a home to denizens outside of just Europa. The first of these locations is the small fortifications of Scorched Enclave, where 3 of these Titans exist in various states upon the dunes. The most prominent of these, just upon the map's edge, is in the best shape, and at its base are deployed numerous squads of Europan infantry, exos, and mechs, suggesting that this Titan is active, at least as a makeshift Europan garrison. However, for this Titan and the 2 others that dot the landscape behind it, it seems that their locomotion and power have been disabled. For the 2 off-map Titans, these are both partially buried beneath the sands, suggesting that unlike the Titans upon the map's edge, they are relics of a bygone battle. For the Titan upon the edge, it may simply be parked, or recently disabled upon the sands, suffering the same fate of those before it. Collectively, this begins to paint a picture of nothing ever changing. The locations of battles predetermined, their results inconsequential, and involuntary motion that must be performed. Buried within the frozen swamp, there are more instances of these relics of past battles. 3 Titans in various states, destroyed and disabled. The poor Europan presence here, outside of the injector site, hint that these are no longer active. However, there still remain small foot patrols in the area. The half-sunken destroyed crawler here shows the first instance of an interior, with a large hangar bay occupied by destroyed Merkava battle tanks, and occasionally a patrolling Exo and Europan squad. Despite its rundown nature, Europa still places some emphasis on having patrols here, likely being due to direct compatibility of salvage, such as parts, weapons, and ammo. Additionally, these Titans are homes to powerful sensor suites, and likely data storage and black boxes, and one could easily see the emphasis placed on recovering these by the high command of the area. Our last map, Ashen Mesa, sees our first actual instance of a mostly functional Titan. For the keen-eyed, upon entering the map, especially at the city ruin spawn, the intact Titan can be seen entering the map, moving into position before deploying its garrison. And while the weapons of this Titan are not yet active, its animated state suggests this will be one of the first candidates. This Titan acts as a spawn point on the map for Europa, and approaching it is a foolish endeavor. An endless swarm of Europan infantry and exos emerge from its hangar and from beneath it, providing the infantry a great deal of concealment and cover before emerging from the front. While the medium mechs of Europa have yet to deploy from the Titans themselves, their current spawns upon Mesa suggest they act as escorts, almost like destroyers protecting a carrier. Ashen Mesa is also home to a destroyed crawler, having its entire hangar entrance torn off and its tracks sundered. It functions much like the Titan on Frozen Swamp, though it is heavily infested with cyborgs. While Europa does place some emphasis on attempting to reclaim this Titan for its very valuable salvage, it is truly a refuge of the cyborgs now, their endless numbers emerging from its many corridors and digging through its metal. All in all, these Titans function more as landmarks and spawn points than units. However, as we will see in our next section, Armor and Armaments, this is likely only for now, as they emphasize Europa's doctrine of multifunctional weapon platforms, dominating the battlefields with sheer firepower. Europa's doctrine thus far has never considered armor as a cornerstone. For them, armor is a cost of doing business. Their business being expending massive quantities of ammunition. Armor is a means to an end. A way of providing structural integrity to fit more guns, and to ensure you live long enough to fire them. As shown in the Europan medium mech video, armor is carefully placed for Europa, relying much more on strategy and posturing to properly be utilized. Much of the medium mech's mechanical elements are exposed when this is not in consideration, and I believe that parallel can also be applied to the Titan. Defensively, the Titan has multiple weaknesses under close scrutiny. The most prominent of these being that we have yet to see an instance of a fully closed-off hangar bay. Upon every single Titan thus far, even those in the background, one side will always have an exposed entrance. Though, this might just be a coincidence for now. If the hangar is always exposed, however, it might hint at the doctrine these Titans partake in, like that of a carrier strike group, a protective multi-layered bubble around US supercarriers. The medium mechs themselves might be one of the most important aspects of this protective bubble. Looking upon the weapons of the medium mechs, we have quad cannons that could be used for flak, the CIWS rear gun for missile interception, and its primary gun for armored foes like tanks. Unlike carriers though, these Titans of Europa pack a punch themselves, and much like the science fiction carriers like Battlestars from Battlestar Galactica, might be able to produce their own protective fields of flak, an important part of a later theory. One other weakness to consider is the sheer size of these Titans and their massive 4 tank treads. While pivotal for moving across the sandy, scorched landscapes of the city of Los Angeles, the disabling of even one of these could render the Titan stranded until repair. While the replacement of these is likely not impossible, a disabled Titan, even for a short period, could stop a Europa offensive in its tracks, or force its protective perimeter to move on to continue the assault. For the weapons of the Titans, their primary emplacements seem to be outfitted with 5-inch or 127mm cannons. This caliber emphasizes multifunctionality and can utilize various munitions useful for engaging land and air threats, and can even be used for bombardment and defensive fire. With each emplacement having 2 of these cannons, along with its caliber size, it allows for sustained fire over prolonged periods, something larger calibers would struggle with. Supporting these primary guns are 5 2-inch or 50mm autocannons, likely serving as perimeter defense against aerial threats that manage to infiltrate the flak perimeter. These are focused mostly on the non-hangar side of the Titan, suggesting that often the hangar faces away from the battle and toward friendlies, slightly contrasting with the deployed Titan on Ashen Mesa. However, this intact Titan on Ashen Mesa also has a lot of differences over the disabled Titans of bygone battles, most notable being their increased number of CIWS Gatling guns. While some Titans do have the CIWS Gatling gun upon their sensor masts, most are absent of these defensive weapons. The Titan on Ashen Mesa may show us a doctrinal change or adaptation, with many of its 2-inch guns replaced by these CIWS Gatling guns. The reason for such a change may indicate future swarm tactics, which could overwhelm the 2-inch guns. Alternatively, it may be very fast evasive missiles, requiring sheer volumes of fire to intercept. These Titans are not just home to dumb weapons either, with all Titans housing 8 large ballistic missiles, that considering their size are likely medium to long range, giving these Titans a weapon that can engage foes well outside its theater of operations. Whether these are nuclear or not is unknown, though considering that every carrier thus far we can enter has not fired one of these projectiles, it could hint that they are, and are never granted permission to arm and utilize them. Alternatively, if Europa lacks the ability to target things outside of its area of operations, due to a lack of satellites and the jamming of their long-range sensors, they might just be highly ineffectual weapons, more there to be a threat upon the enemy and to force them to sustain their jamming operations, lest Europa rain fire down upon them. Unlike these unused ballistic missiles, Europa's newer model of Titans also have a large array of shorter range missiles. Upon the top of these Titans, lining the sides, are arrays of armored flaps. In the older versions of the Titans, it seems these were primarily armored ERA plates, meant to absorb incoming damage. However, in the newer models, outfitted with CIWS Gatling guns, these armored flaps are much more numerous and smaller, with some of them open, exposing an empty missile bay inside. These missile bays are a very practical weapon for the Titans, giving them extra reach beyond its cannons, and not being so unwieldy, large, and impractical like its ballistic missiles. Additionally, they can house a variety of different types, such as anti-air or cruise missiles, giving the Titan a toolbox to solve a variety of different combat situations. The presence of ERA flaps and missile bays also gains some additional meaning if we see more of these Titans in the future. That being Europa's clear intent to mislead opposition by masking its units. Like the crews of Sherman Fireflies would do by painting their barrels, they are masking their lethality, with both missile and non-missile variants with similar looking flaps, not allowing the opposition to easily identify those of more importance. While the arms and armor of the Titans give us insight into its future, it also provides us a sense of the grand strategies of Europa, starting with its doctrine. The Modular Adaptive Pragmatism, or MAP Doctrine. The MAP Doctrine at its core emphasizes the pragmatic approach Europa takes toward all things. That being, unlike Eruska and Eurasia, Europa focuses on the modularity and adaptability of its units and weapons. One such example can be seen within the infantry of Europa, with their primary service rifle of the SCAR chambered in .50 caliber. While this caliber will also have implications in adaptation, we also see the platform's modularity, with Europan snipers outfitted with a DMR version of this rifle. Additionally, the large integrally suppressed barrel hints that it may be a weapon utilized by spec ops or assassins. Powerful suppressed weaponry to ensure one-shot kills against the heavy armor of Euruskan infantry. This modularity is also seen upon the Titans themselves with their many hardpoints. And while we see only 5-inch guns currently, the potential for these to be replaced is there, much like the many 2-inch guns being replaced by CIWS Gatling guns. The adaptive aspect is like that of modularity, but is much more granular. For example, while modularity might mean in the place of the 2-inch guns of the Titans, there are CIWS cannons, this is about the weapons themselves, and is emphasized by their calibers Europa has chosen. Their infantry, equipped with a primary service rifle in the highly adaptive .50 caliber, are able to utilize a variety of payloads for numerous different scenarios. While calibers smaller than .50 can support payloads, it acts as a first major breaking point, providing the first real instances of significant internal capacity to provide a real effect on target. This adaptive doctrine is once again echoed in the 5-inch guns of the Titans, along with its missile bays, providing a great deal of selection in its ammunition and missile type, able to always have the right tool for the job. These two aspects, modularity and adaptiveness, come together to form Europa's pragmatic approach, focusing on being able to equip their units with the right tools in both form and function. This also highlights Europa's weakness, their reliance on proven weapons of the past to carry them into the future, that with sheer weapon volume, they can overcome the biological horrors of Eruska and the cyborg swarms of Eurasia. And while these Titans may be the core of this doctrine, one can only question where such a war machine is produced, and how it reached the theaters of war. The Titans of Europa are amalgamations of many parts and weapons. Their production is likely akin to the shipyards of today, the construction of these vessels being a combined effort of many workers, even if AI or machine. One can only wonder about the massive industrial zones that contain their construction. These vessels are not just the sum of their mechanical parts, however, as they serve as the carriers for exos, tanks, and troops. They are the way these troops get to the front lines safely and act as a sensory node for high command, relaying real-time data back for analysis. Though, there is a vast distance between the front lines of the city of Los Angeles and the industrial zones, a massive landscape of scorched earth serving as a protective barrier for the shipyards of Europa. However, the defensive nature of this landscape is a double-edged sword, a barren no man's land of insurmountable size for smaller vehicles. This makes the Titans an absolute necessity, their size providing a sustainable power plant smaller vehicles are unable to contain, and their essential nature is well realized by the opposition. For Eurasia, who currently own the skies, these great barren plains are a hunting ground, and while they cannot sustain a permanent presence here, much like the hunters of yore, they scour the plains for their prizes. Lone Titans here likely stand no chance against such a foe, and thus form herds as they travel across these great plains. Their miniguns and missiles able to provide flak screens and countermeasures for incoming aerial threats, while their garrisons can deal with any deployed cyborgs. Though Eurasia's goal here is not to eliminate the entire herd, rather to split and conquer. Through numerous efforts, Eurasia divides these into smaller herds until the Titans are few or lone in number. It is here when their ability to defend themselves is weakest, and now Eurasia truly goes on the hunt, swarming and overwhelming these lone Titans until they are incapacitated or destroyed. Worse yet, these husks become refuge for cyborgs, a new garrison upon the plains to harass other Titans from. The captains of these Titans may always have a daunting choice to make while crossing these great plains. Do they salvage the ruined Titans for their ammo, or stay well away, aware of what might lurk within? For the herds that stay together and make it across these great plains, littered with the carcasses of their kin, the relief and power they provide the front lines are immeasurable. Though as seen on the many battlefields of Los Angeles, their presence is always short-lived, their life spent in travel, with only a little life left to give near the end, finding familiar graveyards to call their final resting place. Altogether, the Titans provide a great insight into Europa and their doctrine, an emphasis on modular adaptive firepower and multifunctionality, gargantuan landships to both serve as troop carriers and battleships. Yet, their scattered carcasses across the battlefields tell a different story. By the time these war machines arrive, their brief existence has been spent in travel, and upon reaching their destination, they are not tools of conquest, but wary travelers, beaten by the relentless expanse of the Great Plains, looking for a place to embrace their eternal slumber. That's all for this video. Let me know your thoughts on the Titans down below in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.